Well, 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 well. How the turntables. Who gets that reference? Tesla Robotaxi unveil on August 8th of 2024. Post from Elon Musk about an hour and a half ago. This, of course, on the heels of a Reuters article. The craziest day in recent Tesla memory, if you're a follower of the company. Pretty wild. Exclusive from Reuters. Tesla scraps low-cost car plans amid fierce Chinese EV competition. There was a post on X where somebody said, zero hedge in this case, Tesla scraps low-cost car plans, Reuters. And then the claim has been refuted by Elon Musk, CEO of Tesla, with Elon Musk himself replying to that same post, Reuters is lying, parentheses, again. Now, if you're a follower of the Tesla story, this is probably a day that you've been looking forward to for a really long time. And the reason why is because Tesla has been working on autonomy, on making cars drive themselves for the better part of 8 years. Since 2016-ish, they've started down this path of figuring out how to get a car to drive itself. And now in 2024, this is the first time that we've gotten official confirmation from anyone from the company that they're ready to show the world what this self-driving robotaxi will look like. Now, it's kind of hard to get your head wrapped around this, to be completely honest, because the implications from this are kind of endless. But I'll try to wade through it in as little words as possible, which is very difficult for me. And then at the end of we'll see how long this spiel is. We'll do some Q&A with everybody here in the comments from both X and YouTube. So if you're joining us live, drop your comments below as we progress. And then if you're joining us on recording, make sure you pull up the live comments. Okay. So I want to start with this post from Sawyer Merritt, because Sawyer, I think, it looks like he's nailed he has hit the nail on the head as far as what this Reuters article was and what the Elon post sort of implies. So Elon just said Reuters was lying. However, here is my general thinking. Tesla's low-cost $25,000 car and the Robotaxi were always going to be based on the same platform. They were going to be very similar, but the $25,000 version was going to have a steering wheel and pedals, obviously. Maybe Elon and the team have been so impressed with how good FSD-12 has performed and were maybe thinking they should be shifting even more resources to the Robotaxi FSD effort. This doesn't mean that the $25,000 car is canceled, in this case the Model 2. Again, they share the same platform. To which Elon Musk replied with eyes, right? And if you're familiar with emojis, this usually means, there's something there. There's something there, right? So I think Sawyer's going down the right path here as well. And we probably have confirmation from Elon that this is going to be the case. Now, I do think that Elon and Tesla were sort of forced to make an announcement around Robotaxi because of that Reuters article. Because if you look at how it impacted the stock, and obviously none of this in this live stream is financial advice, investment advice, nothing of the like. I am the last person you want to listen to for any of that stuff. This when the Reuters article came out, there was a giant down spike, a trough, it went down by about 5.5% or so. And then when Elon refuted the Reuters article, it went up a bunch, and then it sort of came back down at the end of the day. And then when Elon made the announcement about Robotaxi, the stock went back up to the level where it's above where it opened the day. So it's up 4.17% after market. And so clearly, this news from Reuters impacted something. And the company, I think, had to, in a way, maybe they weren't ready to announce something about the Robotaxi yet, but in a way, maybe this catalyzed them to say, you know what? We're going down a path right now where our cars, our Q1 wasn't as good as maybe people wanted. We're making incredible development of full self-driving, which is their self-driving software, which I'll talk about on this live stream as well, what I'm seeing with my own two eyes. And now we have fear, uncertainty, and doubt being put out into the world by Reuters that is making it seem as if our company is not performing as well as it should, or we're taking growth off the table because people don't want our products as much, right? And I think that's what caused the stock to go down so much, is that Tesla said, per Reuters that they're canceling this Model 2, this compact car, which is meant to be a car that starts at 25,000 that can be sold in the millions. And so people obviously are going to freak out and say, "Oh my God, Tesla's not growing anymore. Tesla's not growing anymore," and that's why the stock went down, right? I think what's really happening here is that Tesla is in a position to execute against their Gen 3 platform in two different ways. So with the Robotaxi, with this Gen 3 platform car, which is going to be the compact car that can drive itself with a steering wheel and pedals that they're going to unveil on 8/8, that product, they can unveil at any point. They can unveil it today if they wanted to, if it was ready, obviously. They could unveil it today. And the reason why is that this is going to be a product, I believe, that's going to be geared to fleet managers. So like in the airplane industry, you have Spirit, you have Southwest, you have United, you have American Airlines, right? They're not the ones that make the planes. They buy their planes from Boeing and Airbus. Lately, Airbus. Shout out Boeing. I'm sure you've heard the struggles they're going through. And so these airfare providers, they buy these planes from people, from these two companies, really. It's a duopoly. And then they outfit the planes to match what they want to do from a business perspective. Maybe they want to give more legroom. Maybe they want to give you all first class. Maybe, they want to put a bus in the sky like Spirit, right? But in the end, the people that are making the planes are Airbus and Boeing. What Tesla, I think, is gearing itself to do with the Robotaxi is that they're going to say, okay, check this out. We are now a Boeing and Airbus of driving. We have this product that will be able to drive itself. It has no steering wheel and pedal. My guess is they're going to show it to be something that can be heavily customizable for any use cases that these fleet providers might want to provide. Maybe they want to, customize the seating, or maybe they want to customize how many screens there are. I don't know. This is like very rough thinking right now. There's an opposite end of the spectrum of how this could go as well. And so when they're unveiling that product, that's not going to go to your $25,000 person that can afford a $25,000 car. That's going to go to businesses that can afford, hundreds of robotaxis, or potentially thousands of robotaxis that would require potentially millions of dollars of capital up front, like how much money they have to spend to buy that many robotaxis. And so your clientele for that is going to be small. It's going to be, 100 to 1,000 companies out there potentially in the United States that would want to even buy that thing. And so they're not really impacted by making this unveil on A8. On the flip side, the compact car, the article that Reuters put out that said there is a $25,000 car that Tesla has canceled, with what Sawyer just said and Elon sort of, eyed to, is that this platform, this cheap car is not canceled. They might be at a point now that they feel very confident with how that platform is progressing as far as how much progress they've made to make an affordable car. And now they're shifting their resources that say, okay, cool, we're happy with that, where that's going. We're going to point it to the Robotaxi now, because now our full self-driving software, FSD V12 it's specifically, is doing such great things that we need to really kick up our efforts to capitalize on that opportunity. Because you think about the implications of a car that can drive itself, you don't need to drive it anymore, which means that 50 to 80% of your costs, depending on what kind of unit you're in, are gone. And so now you'll be able to offer a transportation service that will, in the long term, cost a fraction of what anybody else can do. Waymo, Uber, whoever, it doesn't really matter. Because the car itself that can drive itself, in this case, is Robotaxi, is only going to cost like 20 grand to make. Whereas a Waymo's might cost 250,000, right? Or an Uber with a driver might cost upwards of $100,000 a year, right? Whereas this Robotaxi is $20,000. Boom, one time. And then you depreciate it over time. This breaks the equation fully. This is a paradigm shift on what transportation actually means, okay? But on the flip side, when Tesla is ready to unveil this $25,000 car, this compact car that Reuters says it's canceled, that it's not, this car you can't announce right now. Even if you were done with development, you can't announce it right now. Why is that? Number one, It's $25,000. It's going to start at $25,000. The waiting list for that vehicle is going to be insane. The Cybertruck has about 2 million reservations as of today. The Model 3 had about 500,000 reservations back in 2017. And so imagine what a $25,000 Tesla will do to the reservation list, right? It's going to cause, I don't know, a 5 to 10 million reservation list of customers that are brand new to the brand that will be forced to wait however long to purchase their product. And those same people could just be buying the Model 3 and the Model Y right now, because the Model 3 starts at 32 with the EV tax credit, and the Model Y starts at like 35 or 36, whatever those numbers are. So you already have kind of these products that, and if you buy it used, it could be even cheaper, right? So you have these products already out there that a customer could technically buy. And so if you give any heads up that this car is coming, you're going to end up Osborning yourself. And Osborne basically means that you are giving up demand, you're giving up sales for your car company, for current products, and instead giving it up for a future product that's not even launched yet, which is kind of what's happening with Rivian in a way with their R2, but that's a separate discussion. So it's in Tesla's best interest to do not say anything about that model, because if it do say something, that dynamic will happen. So what I think what's going to happen is this. If I'm going to put my predictive hat here, which is not very good, but we'll try it anyway, is that on August 8th, Tesla will unveil its Robotaxi. We'll get an idea of what the form factor is going to be for the compact car. They'll only specifically talk about the use case of the Robotaxi as a self-driving vehicle. They're going to harp on how safe it's going to be, how cheap it's going to be to run, how customizable it is, how cheap it is to clean, why fleet providers should think about purchasing this car. There is a world where Tesla is its own fleet provider and they don't even sell the damn thing. They become a fleet provider, especially if they can use a bunch of humanoid robots to clean the car that they're building themselves, right? So that will happen then. And then at some point in the future, end of 2024, 2025, when this compact car is ready, which is built on the same platform as the Robotaxi, but you can actually drive, that starts at 25, they're just going to put it up on the website, and they're going to be like, order now, get it in like 2 months or a month or whatever it is. And that limits the time that it would take for somebody to wait for the car and actually buy it, right? There's two products here, in my opinion. I feel very strongly that there's two products. Because even in a world where the Robotaxi starts selling, let's say, in the next 12 to 18 months, and it's a self-driving vehicle, it's going to be heavily dictated by the jurisdictions that allow that Robotaxi to operate in. You can't operate a Robotaxi everywhere. You can't operate a self-driving car everywhere. Like, for example, Waymo, either because of strong laws to prevent self-driving cars from happening, or because they can't scale, which is another thing. Like this, there's so much stuff to talk about here. It's crazy. I could go for an hour. Waymo can only operate in like 3 cities, I think, maybe 4, in a handful of cities, partly because they can't make enough self-driving cars, partly because they have to map the whole thing, partly because their sensor suite is super, super sensitive to stuff, and partly because not every jurisdiction is saying, yes, you may operate this in this place, right? So Tesla is going to go through that same exact thing where they're not going to be able to just start selling the Gen 3, this Robotaxi everywhere, because only a few places will use them. And those few places, you probably need to start maybe like 5,000 to 10,000 Robotaxis, truly, to start working in those areas. That's not a lot of capacity. And we know that Gen 3 manufacturing process, which is the Robotaxi and the compact car are built on, is designed for extreme scale at super low costs. So they want to lower the cost of manufacturing by 50%. They want to lower the footprint of manufacturing by 30 to 50%. And they want to increase the number of units sold for that car or that platform by 2 to 3x of the current thing, right? So they'll be selling millions of these per year. That's where this compact car comes in. That's where this $25,000 car comes in, because you can sell it everywhere. You can sell it in the United States. You can sell it in China. You can sell it in Europe. You can sell it in South America. You can sell it in Africa. You can sell it anywhere you want. Whereas the Robotaxi is extremely limited to start until the legislation comes up, right? So what I fully expect to happen here is that they'll unveil the Robotaxi on 8/8. They'll be getting ready to ship the compact car, which is going to be built on the same platform as a Robotaxi at some point after that. They'll flip the switch for Robotaxis as they're working on the compact car. Then once the Robotaxi is live and the compact car is out in the world, at any point, they'll be able to say, oh, New York, you're now allowing self-driving cars. Okay, we don't have to make Robotaxis now. We just open up the fleet to people that have already bought the compact car for $25,000 and allow them to operate in that area. It'll just have the steering wheel and pedal. And I'm guessing they might have a way for you to remove that so that you can actually turn your Robotaxi into your compact car into a Robotaxi. So it gives Tesla a lot of flexibility. Because unless they do that, they're not going to be able to really... They're going to have a lot of idle production. And it doesn't make a lot of sense for me that they're going to make the Gen 3 platform with Robotaxi on the compact car and only make, let's say, 2 million units per year. They're going to be wanting to make millions, way more than that per year. 5 million, 10 million, ideally 20 million units per year, right? Because as the cost of transportation comes down because of no driver, way more people can afford it. Think about what it does to places that right now transportation is super expensive, you know, or in places where it's very difficult for people to commute to work and they have to carpool, or they can't afford to own a car and they have to take public transportation, which takes away a bunch of time from their day, or from areas where people ideally would want to take a nap in the car while they're going somewhere comfortably that a Robotaxi can do for them. It just unlocks so much. This is freaking crazy, man. This is kind of crazy how he just casually just announced this. Casually just announced this. So anyway, those are my high-level thoughts. We'll go through some questions real quick, see what the crowd has to say. There's so much to think through here. This is really a game-changing moment. And if I talk about how the rest of the people will sort of view this in the long term, I really think the company will have to prove to the masses that this is real, number one. So they have to have a Robotaxi that's actually real out there operating. And it's something that's monetizable. I think unless those two things happen, the rest of the market, I don't think they're going to wake up to this fact. I would be surprised if they do. Because what I've seen lately is that the markets, they want to see it on paper. They want to see it on paper. They want to see it like materialize in the P&L, the product and loss report that Tesla puts out every quarter. I don't think they'll get credit for this until it's out there. I could be wrong, but I don't think they'll get credit for it. But if you trust in the company's execution, if you trust in the company's ability to solve hard problems, and you trust their guidance that this is coming to fruition, especially if you're somebody who's been using FSD V12 and you kind of know what's happening here, at some point this has to happen. If you're following Tesla, at some point this thing here has to happen. Otherwise, we're all idiots. We're all the dumbest people on earth. And everybody who doubts the story will be like, haha, told you. And we'll be like, yeah, we're dumb. But the opposite of that is what's happening right now. So that's like 1% of what I have in my brain. This is going to take me weeks to get out. So if you're here, subscribe. Because we're going to be talking about this a lot, y'all. This is kind of crazy. So questions, comments, put them in the comment section below. Write question before your question so it's easy for me to find your question here in the comments. We're getting them we're getting them from X and YouTube, so it doesn't matter which platform you're on. Drop your questions and comments below, and we'll go through them. So, interesting comment here. It also unlocks a big attack surface for hackers from Bezzy on X. 100%. One of the things with self-driving technology is, the chaos scenario is, oh, now you can have people that can just control my car now. Of course, obviously, that's a big concern. But anything technological will have that risk, So it's something that they have to work very closely on, and it's just a part of the new age that we're in. From Boss USA on YouTube, do you think Elon announcing Robotaxi has anything to do with a fake report today? I very much think so. I think the company probably didn't want to announce Robotaxi yet, but the Reuters report, I think, forced their hand in some way, because you can see that even with Elon saying that they're lying, he didn't want to, you know, I don't think he wanted to say, he can't say as much as he wants to say because it's something that they're working on and they're keeping very close to the vest. Because if they say that, no, we didn't cancel the Model 2 and it's at full bore, then all the people that are potentially could buy a Model Y or Model 3 today are going to wait for the compact car. And so he can't, I don't think he can go into detail. What he can do though is like, hey, y'all talking about the Robotaxi? Boom, check out this Robotaxi and still work on the compact car, right? But I do think that it was a forced hand. Yeah. The question is, will Tesla do this responsibly from the honest broker? I don't see why they wouldn't. I think the one thing that Tesla has, and I know they get flack for this from people that don't believe this, which is hard to believe because all the numbers are out there. NHTSA, NTSB, the European agencies, all the safety people rate Tesla as some of, if not the safest vehicles on the road. So if anything, like, that's the reason why my wife and I own, like, you know, the EV thing is great and it's great, but like we are very comfortable with the fact that it's the safest car we've ever had and it's the safest car on the road. I think if anything, Tesla's core competency is to make a safe vehicle. And some people will say, well, the self-driving thing is not safe. Like, it's different. If you're misusing it, it's not safe. Just like if you misuse a car, it's not safe. This like argument drives me nuts. I'll be completely honest. People are, you know, I hear people saying, oh, the FSD thing on the car makes no sense because this thing's driving itself, and if the driver doesn't pay attention, the car will crash. I'm like, okay. NHTSA literally allows cross traffic at 55 miles an hour, this way and that way, and the only thing that's keeping people from killing each other is a light, is a thing that goes red to green. And if people don't pay attention to the light, they end up killing somebody. And we're giving flack for a software that's actually preventing those things from happening, right? I've never understood that argument, and I'm really sorry, but it's this like this, and I don't know if this is what you meant, honest broker. I don't mean to go off on you, brother. Sorry, I'm just ranting. This whole thing where it's like the software is unsafe or whatever is, in my opinion, is a dumb argument because you're basically saying if you don't operate a car well, you are unsafe. No duh. Why am I so fired up today? What happened? From Rich on X, question about a Model 3 at end of lease. They are retaining them now for Robotaxi. Yeah, they've been retaining leases for a while now. That bet could end up working pretty well for them, honestly. But it all depends if they're going to manage a fleet or not. People think that they will manage their own fleet. My reservation is around how much resources and how expensive it will be to maintain that fleet long term. And Tesla usually has a willingness to like not delve into that stuff because they want to outsource anything that's not manufacturing. I think it's been the track record. Anything that's not like a core manufacturing engineering expertise, they've been very open to just open it up for somebody else to do. So I think it will be antithetical to how they're approaching this, but the profits that they would generate from having their own fleet, especially if they can use a human or robot to do a lot of the tasks like maintenance and cleaning and stuff, forget it. But then the question becomes, then what happens to Uber? What happens to everybody else? Will Robotaxi have wireless charging? Great question. I know there was I forget it was a patent or I think it was an acquisition that Tesla acquired a wireless charging company. It would make a lot more sense for them to utilize wireless charging for the Robotaxi so that they can save a step of, say, a human or robot plugging in the car. But there's also some losses from wireless charging. It's not as fast and it won't be as like, it's not as efficient as just plugging in. But if you work out the math and it says, yeah, well, that wireless is better than having a Robotaxi or a human or robot there to plug in the cars, you know, the potentials of like people kicking over the robot or breaking it or whatever. It, you know, it's like, it's crazy how everything changes with this, man. We have to wait and see what it is, but if they execute, everything's changed. Everything's changed. A good stream? Are we in the bathroom? LOL. Haha. 6 out of 10. What is your guess between sell or only Robotaxi? My guess, so I'm assuming the question is guess between selling a compact car that's based on the Robotaxi platform or just do Robotaxi. I'm extremely confident that they'll still sell a compact car that is not a Robotaxi, meaning that it will have steering wheel and pedals, because it will idle their capacity unless they do that, because not everywhere allows self-driving technology yet. And so it'd be silly to wait for everybody to turn on self-driving. You just want that factory to go full bore for as long as you can, right? So in my opinion, I think they do both to keep those factories running, because then those compact cars can be rigged into a Robotaxi as well once people want to do that. Yeah. From Oofdad, question: how much do you think FSD has to improve from today to Robotaxi? Still feels premature to me. Rate of improvement for V12 is unknown at this point. Yeah, I think there's still a way to go, for sure. I think the company still has to make improvements, but I would say that the rate of improvement is actually quite good. I think we have some data points, at least from my perspective. I've seen a lot of data points that prove this is the case. And there's somebody on X. One of my mods needs to figure out who this person is, because they have a tracker where they keep a track of all the disengagements and interventions that people do that they've done in their car, like super detailed, and how it performs around bends, traffic lights, stop signs, pedestrians. And there's been improvement all the way through V11, and V12 came out and there was a sudden improvement on that. So, and version 12 itself, if you go from version 12.1 to version 12.3, I've been on both those cars. Bradford Ferguson gave me a ride in 12.1 and 12.3. There's been some significant positive changes to the software. The 12.1 was very smooth, but it made some stupid moves. The 12.3 is super smooth, and it doesn't make stupid moves. The only thing it doesn't do well right now is that it doesn't match my preference exactly in every single moment. And of course, it right now with the version I have, it can't navigate into a parking deck, and it can't say go on a drive-through and these more complex situations. But the model that Tesla is using to solve for that is just give the AI a bunch of footage of cars going into a parking deck, and then let the AI figure out how to do it. You don't need any extra hardware. You just need the brain to figure out how to do it. You know, we don't need extra hardware when we go into a parking deck to park. We just know how to use our frame of reference, like the objects in front of us, to navigate through the parking deck, because we're like, yeah, I'm here, and I should probably find a spot somewhere so that I can get out and go, right? That's what the AI brain will do. So we'll see. Thank you for the question. Let's do a few more. Robbie, thank you so much for becoming a YouTube member. 100% of YouTube membership revenue goes to a charity of my community's choice at the end of the year. Last year, I think we donated, I forgot, $6,800. So thank you so much. 100% of your of those dollars go to a charity of our community's choice. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Yeah, the Discord should be auto-linked through YouTube. You should be able to, in your membership page, you should go right into the Discord thing. Okay. FSD just joined 1 billion miles driven. That's probably just a start. I'm guessing they put something on post there on X. When do I think, from Colin on X, when do you think the price of FSD will increase? This is a really good question. I think the price of FSD will increase once Tesla turns on level 3. And so for those that are not familiar, level 3 is basically when you're in a car and it drives you around and you're sitting behind the steering wheel and pedals and you don't have to pay attention. The car does everything for you. That's when the equation really changes, because now level 2, which is what it is now, you still have to pay attention, but it takes off so much load from you as a driver. The analogy I like to use, and I've heard other people say this, and I 1000% agree with this statement, is if you're somebody who has had a Tesla, or say even a Ford Mach-E that has the hands-free on the highway, or like autopilot on a Tesla, you get so much value from having the car just drive you on the highway for hundreds of miles at a time, because it removes a ton of stress of micro adjustments and freaking looking out from everyone else on the road. It's a gigantic value add. And so like it brings down stress, it makes you feel safer, it makes you feel like you have help, like legitimate help, right? And that costs something. And I think the $200 is the right price. Probably could charge more, honestly. Is the right price to feel like that, but everywhere, not just on the highway, but in the cities as well, at traffic lights, at stop signs. The earliest versions of FSD would cause more stress in the city than just driving yourself, because the system was not as confident as a driver was. Now the system is just as confident as I am, and I actually feel relaxed allowing it to drive me around in the city in like these complex situations. That's a huge shift. But once people can be like in that car and it can just be like this, and they won't get in trouble, which they do anyway, right? How many people are on the road like this already, right? But if you can do this legally, that's my wife. Ah, cutie. Sorry, babe, you're on camera. What was I going to say? Oh my God, I lost my train of thought. Okay, but if they can do this while driving, right, and not pay attention, then the equation changes, because now you've bought time. Now you're actually giving money, like you're giving time back to the driver to do whatever they want. They can be on their laptop working. They could be taking a nap. They could be on their phone. They could be doing other things, all right? That we'll mention them. But that's when that value unlock really becomes huge, because now you're saving time. It's not just an assistance thing. It's you're giving time back to the person, and time is valuable. So that's when I expect FSD price will increase. I always give the longest freaking answers to these questions. I'm really sorry, everybody. Why, from Pat on X, why can't we launch Robo Bus first? Last mile Robotaxi could be next. I think that because RoboBus, if you really think about a bus's key weakness is that people have to be okay with giving up their time. You know, and this is like a different mentality thing between, I think, the United States and the rest of the world, really, and like Europe especially, because Europe has very good public transportation because the population density is extremely high. There's a lot of people that live very close to each other, and so public transportation makes a lot of sense, whereas the United States is gigantic. I mean, it's so large, and China as well is a gigantic country. A lot of the world is pretty big. You know, you don't have the population densities that Europe has. Is, I think, you know, you definitely have them in other parts of the world, but it's definitely a European thing. Whereas the Robotaxi can take everybody to their exact situation. They don't have to compromise time. They don't have to be like, oh, this guy needs to go there, so I have to give up 20 minutes of my time. No, Robotaxi will just take you there, right? And so I think from a value proposition perspective, Robotaxi wins because it saves you so much time, and it comes to your door and it drops you off exactly where you have to go. And I think it's in Tesla's best interest to really solve for that, because that's what's going to win in the market, in my opinion. Not relevant, but you need a haircut. I agree. I was just at a barbershop today, and we shot a reaction video with the barbershop with a Cybertruck, which will go live probably Sunday. But I didn't get a haircut. I didn't have time. Yeah. From Rob, question: has producer wife taken a drive in 12.3? Her insight is a great peek into how standard consumers feel about the tech versus us FSD geeks. Yeah, that's a great comment, and I 100% agreed. She hasn't taken a drive yet. She has been a passenger in 12.3 multiple times. She loves the software. She likes it way more than version 11. She already liked 11, but she really notices the improvements because it's way smoother and it's way more confident, and it just reacts in a very human way, and she really likes that. However, she hasn't been able to drive the car lately because she's about 8.5 months pregnant, and it's getting a little difficult, you know? And I don't think it's the safest thing to put her behind the wheel when she's, you know, that far along, and God forbid something happens. So, yeah, she's just, her belly is bellying, as we like to say. And once the little one's here, probably sometime in the summer, God knows how much better FSD V12 is going to be by then, we'll put her behind the wheel and we'll record some content. Heck yeah. All right, let's do a few more. If Robotaxi, what's the incentive to buy FSD? Great question, Matthew. I think Robotaxi and FSD are two different products. Robotaxi, I think, is geared to a fleet provider that is purchasing cars to operate like an Uber, where they don't have to actually hire drivers. They just let the cars go around on their own. Whereas FSD is a software system that somebody can put on their car that they own that will allow them to get to point A to point B while they're in the driver's seat without them having to actually drive. It's two distinct product cases. Now, Tesla in the past has said, Elon Musk has said in the past that those same cars can turn into robotaxis where you don't need somebody in the front seat, right? And so FSD becomes, I think long-term will become a monthly thing where people will pay $200 a month, $500 a month, whatever that number is, to either have to pay attention to the car driving them around or not have to pay attention to the car drives them around. And that will be tiered at some way monthly. And then the full price, in my opinion, this is just prediction, I think will be like kind of similar to the medallions in New York City, where you have to buy a medallion to operate a taxi. And then that upfront cost allows you to operate a vehicle that's meant to drive people from point A to point B, right? And I think that's what Robotaxi will be. So like full price, quote unquote, FSD or Robotaxi will allow people to do that. I could be 100% wrong, but I think that's where the model is going, like the pricing model for this technology. So how long from 8.8 to actual production? Great question. If I were to guess, probably 6 to 12 months. Because I forget where we heard this from, but I think Elon alluded to Gen 3 going into production late 25 or early 26. So, and they need to go through, stages of getting that out the door. So we'll see. What are the chances Robotaxi network is open for business in 2024? The only way I see this being open in 24 is if they're able to reach level 4 with their current fleet of cars out there now, and they turn it on in some areas. We'll see. We'll see if that's the case or not. But the Robotaxi platform, it's like the Gen 3 Robotaxi that they're calling this thing. I don't think... Yeah, I don't think it's going to be ready for 24. I think it's going to take a minute. Yeah. Here we go. Robbie wants the link to Discord. That's so funny. Okay, let's see. What do you think about a per mile pricing strategy? Yeah, I think it's smart. I think it's smart for people that want to use it on, say, like road trips, or they want to use it on specific use cases. But when it comes to like how it's going to be long term, I think people are going to want to pay for the monthly, because I bet you the per mile price strategy is going to be way more expensive than if you were paying per month. And so the math I go through is, okay, so if I drive, let's say, an hour a day, people drive a lot more than this per day, but let's say I drive an hour a day, and so that's 30 days a week, so that's 30 hours, right? And I pay $200 a month, and $200 divided by 30 is, so 200 divided by 10 is 20, divided by 3 is like 8, so $8, right? So I'm paying about $8.50, $9 an hour, be somewhere between $8 to $9 an hour to have a car drive me around. And if you do it per mile, that per mile should be significantly more expensive than that, so that you can make people want to purchase the monthly payment, right? The monthly one. So we'll see. I think either way works. I think Tesla can take it whatever direction they want, but I think the monthly payment model is going to be, I think in the end, better for Tesla, because they'll know exactly what kind of income they're going to get from the cars in each month. And it's going to be better for the consumer, because the consumer, especially if they drive enough, because the consumer will be able to have a lower per mile cost than they otherwise would, so that the car drives them around. So, okay. Let's call it a day there. So much to talk about. We're going to be covering this very heavily for the next couple of weeks. Thank you so much for joining. If you like the content, like, subscribe. If you want to support the channel, description below. And I love you guys very much. What a day. What a day, man. Take it easy, everybody. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.